So this palette is giving glam, it's giving, you know, little back dress. I'm about to go out. I just want to feel pretty. Like, I just want to put on my eyeshadow and feel amazing. Those are the type of vibes that I get from this palette. What palette am I talking about? I am talking about the Glaminatrix Cosmetics Nearly Natural. Like, this is a palette basically I would put on a bold red lip with, because basically any shadow in this palette, a bold red lip would look great, even though that wasn't really the vibe I was going for today. I did neutral, but you know what I mean? Because sometimes you just can't put on a bold red lip with any eyeshadow combination. But let's go ahead and get into the video. Hey guys, this is Ashley. Welcome on back to my channel. So like I just mentioned, I'm talking about the Glaminatrix Cosmetics Nearly Natural palette. It's a stunning palette that just arrived in my mailbox about a week and a half ago. And I actually picked this up around, it was a small pre-order that took place around July 4th weekend. But look at this gorgeous palette. We have beautiful matte shades with some really nice sparkly shimmers that, like, any combination you put in up here, you're not going wrong. It's definitely living up to its name, Nearly Neutral. Now, I don't know if I made this up or not, but I really feel like Doodles had, if you ever follow her Instagram account, that she actually did the package design. But hold on, let me just go ahead and introduce myself, because once again, I have gotten carried away. If you are new to this channel, welcome. And if you're oldie but goodie, welcome on back. My name is Ashley. I have a doctorate in pharmacy and I love makeup. So that's how you get Dr. Ash and her makeup, but please just call me Ash or Ashley. And eyeshadow is my favorite thing. I love to talk about eyeshadow. That is what my channel is primarily focused on. Now, this palette, she's been sneak peeking it, and you know, I saw it and I was like, yes. And I really enjoy Glaminatrix Cosmetics. I have started basically trying out the brand last year, and I know she has something else in the works. What is it called? The Glamorous palette. It's looking really glamorous. Come on, I need to see the whole palette, okay? I need to see it. The reveal might have been out by now by the time this video goes up. Hopefully not. But this is the gorgeous color scheme. And what I do like about it is not too much of anything. It's not too much rose gold. It's not too much actual gold in your face, because I have enough of those shades. It's not too green. It's right in the middle. Like, it's nearly neutral. Like, it's neutral, but a pop, a pizzazz. So with these beautiful shimmers, you have what is it, 8? Yeah, you have 8 creamy shimmers. I like that there's one silver in there to kind of mix things up. And then the mattes are really nice and buttery. You have a really nice mirror right here, and the palette does feel nice and weighted. So the palette is actually magnetized, so you can move the shadows around however you want, create your own palettes, take them out, whatever you like to do for those girls who are really creative with putting their palettes together. Also, this palette is, I believe, vegan and cruelty-free. Usually Glaminatrix is vegan and cruelty-free, and this palette is good for 24 months. If you're looking for a total ingredient list, go ahead and check out their website. That's where they keep all their ingredients. Now, the palette does actually have this sleeve right here, so the sleeve is actually very much the same as the palette, and there aren't no information on the back end to stay with the palette. Now, the palette, like, what strikes me is very weighted. It's very hefty. It feels like quality product, you know, and I like the design, you know what I mean? So it's nice, it's understated, it's elegant, and it's still like bringing something to the table. Understated and bringing something. I don't know if that goes together, but you know what I mean. And if I didn't mention before, the palette actually retails for $47. So I feel like sometimes with Glaminatrix Cosmetics, especially because they are an Australian indie brand, if I did not mention before, that sometimes like the conversion rate actually comes up and you feel like the palette is way more expensive than it is, because I feel like a lot of times she puts the price up on her Instagram page, whereas usually she's doing all of her product demos, and it was like $72. But actually, when it translates to United States dollars, it's $42, which is a lot easier to stomach. Even though I'm just like that crazy person. I'm like, just give it to me. I'm gonna buy it. So the palette actually retails for $47.68. And then because it's from Australia, the shipping cost is expensive, so the palette price gets bumped up. So it puts it about $20 for shipping. Now the shipping is fairly quick. I would say that it's usually coming from like their version of their post office in Australia. You're like, you know, when basically it leaves, and it usually comes in through LA from my experience, and then it tells you once it gets released. So I feel like a lot of times the hold up with the shipping once it gets, you know, from Australia to LA is like our postal service, like clearing the package from the international side, and then once basically it goes through the network, I've got my stuff pretty quickly, usually like 1 to 2 weeks time when I ship. So that is a small downside. Now before in the past I've had several pre-orders that have been a little bit longer, but this one, like I said, was fairly quick, which is impressive usually when it's coming from an indie brand, because you know indie brands is tough. They don't have the manpower like other brands, and she is a one-woman show and does have like 1 employee now. So at this time, if you've been here before, you already know how I basically get down. I'm going to go ahead and present these 3 looks to you. We're going to talk about some thoughts along the way. Then I'm going to wrap up at the end with some final thoughts. And I actually have a couple comparisons of some palettes that I had in my collection if you're interested in that. And let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and get started with the looks. Same old, same old. Nothing has changed over here. We got the Goof Proof Pencil, shade 3.75 for the brows. Of course, I have my favorite eyeshadow primer, Urban Decay Primer Potion in the shade Caffeine. am back, and here are the first two looks. Really beautiful, giving glam, like, ooh, really, really pretty. The shadows did not disappoint. Let me jump into my face details real quick before I get started talking about the eyeshadow palette itself. So I went in with my Rare Beauty foundation. This is the shade 430W. I took the matching concealer in 420 Neutral. And I decided to also go in with, well, not decided, I always go in with this. This is my Vacay bronzer by Mented Cosmetics. As you can see, I love her over here. And for blush, I actually went in with, this is my first little blush palette from Pat McGrath. Basically, this is the Eternal Eden quad. And this is a quad that I do not like, okay? Never liked it as eyeshadows. It was pretty, but I was like, eh. So I actually always used it as a face palette. So this is prior to Pat McGrath having any type of blushes or anything like that. So I took this shadow and this shadow, mixed the two together for my cheeks. And then I went in with her highlighter in Venus Nectar, which is more of a new highlighter that comes in a single. It's available now as a single. Before, it's just always been in some type of trio or something. And then for my lip combo, I went in with my Juvia's Place liner in the shade Scorpio, which is a nice burgundy color. Could be like a great dupe for Current by MAC, because that is no longer made. Like, it's going to be so clutch. Fall time coming up. Then I went in with the shade Kebe by Juvia's Place as well. I kind of rediscovered this shade in my collection last week, and I was like, been loving it. Finally, for the waterline, I went ahead and went in with this deep green liner just to kind of mimic the shadows I had on this eye. This one is from the Glam Shop Poland, and it came with their Camo Glam palette, but it's just a green liner, so you can use any type of green liner you have. And then on this eye, I went in with Black Coffee. This is from Pat McGrath Labs, a really, really nice, deep, dark brown liner. So those are the face details. As far as the performance of the shadows, so far, so good. Just this shade right here, what is this shade? It's actually called Nearly Neutral. That is actually, yeah, I'm dropping stuff here. The namesake of the palette. So right here, we got Nearly Neutral. That is so pretty. It's a beautiful rose gold with a lot of silver reflex. I mean, gorgeous. Do you see it? And the shadows perform really well. The mattes were very smooth, buttery, pigmented, easy to blend out, especially the like bolder colors. And then for the shimmer shades, they do kind of move around in the pan, but nothing too major, as you can see, like this didn't right here. I think you could definitely pick it up with a brush. I've used this palette a couple times to go to work already, but and I wore it out last night, but you definitely can just go ahead and use your brush and go ahead with some mixing medium or some type of spray, Fix Plus, or whatever type of spray you have. This is the Mayrob mixing medium. I just always keep it in here because to deal with it without a spray bottle is a hot mess. But then for more intensity, I decided to go in with my finger. But I feel like you do get good payoff without using your finger if you're not a person that prefers a finger. But, ooh. So far, so good, really pretty. So like I was saying before my memory card so rudely cut me off and I guess decided to be full. But really glam with these looks. Like, just the sparkle, the shine is so pretty. And then with this eye, I kind of just went ahead and did somewhat of a halo eye, but I'm really pleased with it. But I think it's throwing me off because I have the shadow here and then this eye is more open. But both looks are really, really pretty. Let's go ahead and jump into one more look. and this is look number 3. How beautiful. This is so glam. This look is like perfect if you're just going out on the town, like, you know, little black dress, or even if you're not a little black dress type of chick and you just maybe got on jeans, a cute little crop top. It is great. It is just a beautiful look. Also, if you want to go ahead and go bold, put a bold lip on, or just keep it nude like how I did, I felt like this look is perfect. This shade is so stunning. So the shade that I went ahead and used this time was the shade Raw right here. And I hadn't swatched these shades, but I'm glad to see that Raw is more copper, definitely more rose gold, versus the shade Nearly Neutral, where we have up here, where Nearly Neutral, it has some of the same tones. It's a little bit lighter in terms of the copper and rose goldness, but it definitely has those silver reflex where you're not going to get as strong. I see a tiny silver reflex in this one, but definitely not the same emphasis with the silver reflex as that we did with Nearly Neutral. So you could definitely say that these two are different shades. And then I did not use Second Skin on camera, but Second Skin is definitely more bronze, okay? So bronzy gold is the closest thing that we have in the palette. So overall, I really like this palette. It is beautiful. It is stunning. It is just the right type of neutrals. So what I do like about the palette is, like, this is a palette basically if you just want to throw something on, if you are that girl who just likes a couple of mattes, couple of beautiful shimmer shades where you're never going to go wrong. Like, this is a gorgeous palette. The quality is very great. The mattes perform well. I do wish that the only matte that I did not use on camera was this one. And I did not use Barely There. Now, I do wish that between Simplicity and Barely There, the two kind of mid-tone browns, the caramel shades, I wish one was just a little bit deeper in terms of, you know, just giving a little bit more brown. And I wouldn't even say mainly, I don't want it to be orange, but I want it to be the same thing, just a little bit more depth to that particular brown. But it does play nice to kind of blend out some of these deeper shades, especially like this robe and Naturally, because they can be so strong. What I like about this robe is giving black, it's giving gray, it's giving kind of greeny. Also, when you pair it next to Exposed, which is the green, more green shimmer. So it kind of takes on a couple of different looks as far as the tone of that shade. And then the same with the shade Naturally. Naturally is giving more, it has a little hint of maroon in there. It definitely is very chocolatey brown. So I feel like you do have some nice options as far as deepening, you know, your outer V. I like that the palette is not too over rose. I like that the palette is not too over brown. I like that we have like one little pop of silver. So that's one shade I did not use as far as the shimmers. And then I like that we kind of have some more gray tones. So you kind of have a little bit more cool and warm, and you can kind of mix it between your shimmers as well. So I feel like that gives you a lot of variety. It kind of takes the spectrum of the palette from like here to here, where you could just kind of put on something, you know, now and then, like come back, amp it up to go out at night. So this palette is really beautiful. In terms of the shimmers, I'm trying to figure out like the shimmers. These shimmers are really nice. I feel like some of the top shimmers that I've tried from Glaminatrix, now they're very smooth, and because they do have like the sparkle in them, they're not gritty at all. Like, I don't feel like you need to use a glitter glue to keep it on. I didn't have a lot of fallouts. When I press the shimmer, it's very smooth. Yes, you do get like some indentation from pressing the shimmer, but the shadow doesn't just like move all over the place. Like, let's take a palette like maybe Glamlight. Like, their shimmers are beautiful, they're bold, but you know, like, you got to do a little work to get them on your eyes because they move so much. This is just the right type. They're smooth. You're going to get a lot of payoff. You use your finger, you're going to get even more, like I did with this particular shade. And so I just feel like it's a really stunning palette, and I am really happy and really pleased about the quality of this palette. Really nice. I'm glad that we didn't have to wait so long for this particular pre-order, because you know how pre-orders can be. The turnaround time was fairly quick, basically around the promise time that they promised. ordered this palette July 4th weekend. So it's, I got it about a week ago, at the end of, end of August, because now we're definitely the first couple of days of September, but I've been playing with it. The longevity has been great. I haven't had any creasing. Like I said, I have not worn a glitter glue. Sometimes I do decide to just kind of spray it with my Mayron mixing medium, but I don't feel like that's anything excessive to make a eyeshadow stand out on your eye. Now, I did pull out a few dupes in my personal collection because, you know, I tend not to go this particularly neutral as far as my collection, but I do like a couple pops in here. So this is one reason why this palette actually makes me really happy, because this palette to me is like an updated version. And I'm going to pull it out in just a second. And it was like digging in the crates to pull it out. But I just wanted you to see the palette one more time. This palette to me is like an updated version and a better version where it's not ashy on deep skin as this one right here. Urban Decay Naked 3. Remember when this bad boy came out? So there are a couple shades in here that I loved, okay? So, for instance, Trick. Trick was one of the shades. You know, you always had kind of like with the Naked palettes, like one of the best shades were in the middle. So, Trick was like a rose gold shade. It has some silver reflex. This palette is like old as dirt. I wouldn't even dare put it on my eyes. And the thing is, I've had other makeup, like some of my MAC pigments, longer. And I'm like, ain't no way putting this on my eyes. Now, when you look at this palette, you can very much tell that I have used this shade, but from this on, it's no point. It's giving ashy. It's not going to read well on my skin complexion. Now, this part of the palette was definitely a lot better. You only have like 2 shades that you can really deepen, and then I would, you know, use these particular shades. But my favorite shade was Trick. Now, which Urban Decay palettes, a lot of times you could get these shadows as single shadows, but Trick never came out as a single shadow, and it would just upset me. I think it came out as a lipstick, which was really weird when they did their Vice collection. So as you can see, this one is giving way more improved Urban Decay Naked 3 vibes because, honey, at this point, I would never rebuy this. I hang on to them for like makeup nostalgia, but I would never. And the thing about it is, when I started with these palettes, this was just me trying something different because this is not where I started off with my makeup journey when it comes to Urban Decay. I was really a MAC girl, so MAC Cosmetics. So these are the 2 palettes together. So I just wanted you guys to see, like, definitely, like, this is going to read so much better. You know, the shimmers are way better quality. Going to read so much better on multiple skin complexions versus our beloved Urban Decay Naked 3. I mean, she was good, but it's 22, so no ashy shadows, okay? Then another palette that I pulled out that I thought a lot of people might want to see is the Divine Rose 1. And this is by Pat McGrath, so this is Mothership 7. Beautiful, but definitely this one leads way more mauve-y versus the Nearly Neutral. So if I was to hold both of them up together, wish me luck. So we have both of them together. Definitely, you know, maybe 1 or 2 similar looks, but these shades just lean, like you said, just really neutral versus, you know, Mothership 7 is definitely leaning more mauve-y in tones. And then I pulled out one more palette, and I was like, just if you were thinking about it, but I don't feel like it's a dupe at all. And I pulled out the Natasha Denona Glam palette, and I feel like this palette is very glam. It's just in a different direction. As far as the Nearly Neutral, this one is just glam, but all cool tones, and I really enjoy this palette. But like I said, like, you do have a few crossover tones. I definitely feel like with this one, you might have 1 or 2 shimmers that can kind of pair up with the Glam palette and maybe 1 or 2 mattes. But I feel like this palette has a little something for everybody. It's really pretty, even if you're a person that doesn't necessarily gravitate toward neutrals, and the quality is excellent. So that's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the looks. Okay, my favorite look would probably be this one. And then my second favorite one would be like the halo situation. And then my first look. So I really have been liking this palette. Like I said, I wore it out last night. Didn't have any problems. I've worn this palette to work as well. It kind of makes me excited to play in neutrals. Leave me a comment down below. Are you checking for this palette? I feel like a few people still are kind of interested. I feel like it's relatively affordable. It is a little bit of a higher price structure, but I don't feel like it's too out there, especially because it is a smaller indie brand. So let me know down in the comments. Give this video a big old thumbs up. Hit the notification bell so you know when I come out with another video, which will be very soon. And last but not least, please subscribe to my channel because you know I would love to have you here in my little makeup family. And with all of that being said, you already know what time it is. It's time for the chair dance. Chair dance. Hey, 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 chair dance. Cherries, hey, hey. All right, y'all. Bye.